What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Rezolve AI. I want to go over some of the current data points, some key levels to watch for, and some realistic expectations for this upcoming week. So I want to go over all the things you need to know, but first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Rezolve on Friday did see some minor consolidation, 0.81%, but overall it still did do fairly well. When it comes down to this upcoming week, we have a lot of key data. And as I've kind of mentioned, I'm going to be bringing up this data, but in theory, it doesn't really affect Rezolve for face value because a lot of this is American data, but through algorithmic trading, of course, Rezolve does get influenced. Monday, we don't really have that much, although that is kind of the first of many Fed speakers throughout this whole week. So definitely going to be a fun time for that because there's a lot of hot topics that they could kind of bring up. Tuesday, we have ADP employment, CPI, and based on a lot of the most recent Fed comments, inflation is now supposedly a very big deal. So looking at CPI on Tuesday is going to be definitely watched by a lot of eyes. On Wednesday, PPI, retail sales, as well as on Wednesday, we do have this. So Trump's Supreme Court ruling that was supposed to be on Friday. Unfortunately, they didn't give any kind of talking points. Rather, they pushed it to the 14th. So that as well is going to cause some volatility, no different than what happened on Friday. And then aside from that, though, on the Thursday, we just have the typical stuff. So initial jobless claims. And then Friday, don't really have too much. A couple of Fed speakers as well. When it comes down to companies unveiling their earnings, bank season. So we're kicking that off. So depending on what they give for future guidance and how kind of consumers are doing, that will most likely really move the broader market as well. But in Rezolve's case, it is going to be this event. So January the 13th. And I've been honestly bringing this up quite a lot as a massive catalyst for Rezolve. So once again, I wanted to give you some realistic expectations. And so when they announced this on December the 19th, quickly popping back over here, since December the 19th, it has gone on a pretty epic run. So it's gone up 67.27%. So there's a fair amount of hype associated to kind of this big event. And dependent on what they say, it could really push it higher or potentially kind of break it down. There's a lot of stocks that do this. They put out a big event. Obviously, the stock moves up leading to that event. And then, of course, just people are not really satisfied with it. So this big thing is going to be like a big catalyst overall. So just to give you some realistic expectations, they're going to be providing formal revenue guidance for 2025 and 2026. In theory, 2025 is already concluded, so they're going to do the best that they, I guess, can kind of talk about that, because I don't believe they can give a approximate number, only because that's what earnings is going to be. Aside from that, though, some expectations for 2025, last known is going to be that they exceeded 200 million. So most likely they might say that, or kind of say like a general range, like 240, 250 or whatever else. But nonetheless, I think 2025 is good, but 2026, that's going to be a massive deal, because in theory, what they last disclosed was 500 million ARR. And I did a post recently, or roughly around 1 month, and given the current multiple, which right now Rezolve does have a kind of average multiple for kind of its peers, in theory, it should be double digit. So that's, again, if they can achieve this, so in excess of 200 million in 2025, as well as in 2026, achieve at least 500 million ARR. Of course, in here, they do disclose that they already have 209 million in revenue for 2026. And yeah, I think in general, they're going to be talking about this point right here. So address the significant gap between current market consensus and Rezolve AI's contracted and visible revenue base. So when it comes down to Dan, he's made some comments in the past where he's kind of signaled that Rezolve is trading at a pretty deep discount. And there could be arguments made for either side, yes and no. But at the end of the day, this comment is another one of those ones that kind of signals that he feels, despite everything, it should be a lot higher. So it'll be interesting to see kind of the wording he uses on this event, because I do believe that kind of talking point that he mentioned previously on one of his fireside chats, that is actually what prompted one of the lawsuits against Rezolve. And so far, I don't think that there's been any update to that. Most likely they're just settling stuff behind the scenes, but I think Dan does need to be very, very cautious about saying anything kind of speculative. So I think no matter what though, if they come in and they reconfirm, let's say at least 500 million ARR, I do feel like there will be a little bit of a push lower, only because of how much it's actually gone up since this event on December the 19th. Still, generally, as I've disclosed with you, I do believe Rezolve is going to continue to move higher throughout 2026, and that's just piggybacking merely off of the broader market. If Rezolve is able to re-raise their guidance in 2026, as what they've done I think 2 times for the 2025, then in theory, yeah, Rezolve could easily move up higher. But there's still a certain level of hesitation. One thing as well for Rezolve is that they got the attention of shorts. So even for instance on Friday, shorts increased 616,000 shares. 24.46% of the free float is being shorted. So that's what we're going into this upcoming week with. 29.04 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow average 2.79%. That's an annual rate, not a daily rate. And DTC being at 1.71 days. So it really does signal that shorts are relatively overextended. I still see some posts saying that this is being manipulated and through FTDs and just naked shorting. From what I can see here, from the data and the latest FTDs, I don't see that being on the like a scenario, but what do I know? I think just overall naked shorting is very difficult to prove. So yeah, do your own due diligence, of course, when it comes down to that. Aside from that though, from a bull standpoint, you do see a consensus for it to be above 5. So things could go very real, very fast with Rezolve. We've seen that happen many times in the past. So for instance, going back over to their big event, if they do somehow come out and say, hey, you know what, surprise, we're actually getting maybe like 700 million, then yeah, in theory, I could easily see that 5, if not a lot higher than that being touched. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 350. So definitely there is a enormous amount of upside for this upcoming week compared to down. Aside from that, some key levels to really watch for. So looking at the 1 day with it closing at 368 on the Friday, it is trading between these R3 and this R2. So 354, 324 is going to be support levels. 404 followed by 533 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. Even on Friday, did have a nice spike in the first half of the trading day, kind of touched this general area of 404. If for whatever reason it's able to get above that, then yeah, in theory, 533 is going to be the next strong target. So the bulls, that based on the options, it could come to fruition, of course. There's definitely, it's going to be a crazy ride, and Rezolve, especially with it getting lower volume, like it doesn't take much to really move it. So not saying that we're going to see similar type of price action to this, what happened, but still you could see some very impressive price action, because going into this upcoming week, it is not only above that 50, but it is also above the 200-day moving average. So definitely a lot of good support levels below it, and in theory, like you have a lot of good momentum. So the next real target is going to be that 100-day moving average, and that's sitting at 415. So that wasn't tested on Friday, and it hasn't been actually tested since November the 6th, but if it is able to get above that, then in theory, you could see some pretty impressive price action. So a lot of the bulls through the options could come to fruition. So let me know your general thoughts. It's all going to come down to kind of the macro data, Trump's court case, and in Rezolve's case, that big event. So they're calling the 13th. So let me know your thoughts on Rezolve. Where do you realistically see things going for this upcoming week? Are you bullish, bearish? What's your general thoughts? As I've signaled, even way back here, a lot of people in the comments like, don't promote options, blah, blah, blah. Kind of funny, because if you, for instance, bought a long call around that $2 range, yes, you'd be up a significant amount with the common stock, but probably you'd be up a good 2, 3, possibly even in some cases 4x with your options just in that short time frame. So if you are really bullish on Rezolve in the foreseeable future, take advantage, buy a long call. You can definitely make some very, very serious money with that. So let me know your thoughts on Rezolve. Are you buying? Are you selling? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon. If you're looking for some solid on-point buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all you watching.